Michael Bloomberg did some flip-flopping and fear-mongering on the issue of weed, and you're going to see that as well as a real stark contrast with Bernie Sanders, because he hops in and provides a great substantive policy answer about the issue of legalization.
Look, the first thing you do is we should not make this a criminal thing if you have a small amount. For dealers, yes. But for the average person, no, and you should expunge the records of those that got caught up in this before. Number two, we're not going to take it away from states that have already done it. But number three, you should listen to the scientists and the doctors. They say go very slowly. They haven't done enough research, and the evidence so far is worrisome before we get all our kids, particularly kids in their late teens, boys even more than girls, where this may be damaging their brains. Until we know the science, it's just nonsensical to push ahead. But whatever, the cat's out of the bag. So some states have it. You're not going to take it away. Get rid of the, decriminalize the possession.
Senator Sanders, you were name checked.
All right, look, you're right. We have a criminal justice system today that is not only broken, it is racist. We've got more people in jail than any other country on earth, including China. And one of the reasons for that is a horrific war on drugs. So I do believe that on day one, we will change the Federal Controlled Substance Act, which, if you can believe it, now equates heroin with marijuana. That's insane. We're going to take marijuana out of that and effectively legalize marijuana in every state in the country. What we are also going to do is move to expunge the records of those people who are arrested for possession of marijuana. And I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We're going to provide help to the African American, Latino, Native American community to start businesses to sell legal marijuana rather than let a few corporations control the legalized marijuana market.
All right, Senator.
That was amazing, seeing the difference between those two candidates. So Bernie has said that on day one of his administration, he'll legalize marijuana in all 50 states. He has the ability to do that because all you have to do is really take marijuana off that list of controlled substances. Right now it's Schedule 1. It's up there with heroin and the worst substances. And he's like, yeah, I'll just take it off and it'll effectively be legalized in all 50 states on day one. If you care about this issue, it's a no-brainer because he's on day one we're talking about here. And I believe him. You know, I don't believe a lot of the other politicians, even when they talk a decent game on it and they say, oh yeah, I'm for legalization or whatever. Well, you have the ability to legalize it on day one as president, so maybe you should, do that. And I believe he will do that. He's also talking about expunging the record of everybody who's been guilty of a nonviolent drug offense. That's wonderful. I have full faith and confidence he'll basically do everything he can to free all the nonviolent drug offenders that he can. And I love the idea of the communities that were most affected by this almost kind of get first dibs in the legal marketplace. I mean, that makes sense to me. That does, because it is the case that, the evidence shows that the drug war has been used disproportionately against communities of color. That's a fact. Apparently, white people are more likely to sell drugs, but black people are more likely to get arrested for selling drugs. And we all know the statistic about black people and white people use drugs at a similar rate, but black people are arrested for it about 4 times more often. So, I think that's an interesting, little spin on exactly how you legalize, tax, and regulate. But what's crystal clear is he's for legalizing, taxing, and regulating. And I agree with him on that completely. Now, let's go to Mike Bloomberg. So Mike Bloomberg says, well, don't make it a criminal thing, but for dealers, yes. Okay, so then under your ideal system, you just said we're not going to touch the states that have already legalized it. Okay, so you could theoretically have people selling legally in California and all the other states where it's legal, and then you go to states where it's not legal, and you can have some, poor 23-year-old black kid who gets thrown in prison because he deals. That just perpetuates the problem, man. That just perpetuates the problem. You got a business over here that's perfectly legal and above board, and they got to sell drugs here in an underground way, and you're going to criminalize the dealers who sell in those states. No. Legalize, tax, and regulate across the board, across the entire country, full stop. So it's such a weaselly position to take. So, yeah, okay, I guess don't make it a criminal thing, but for the dealers, yeah, go after the dealers. If it's not a criminal thing, then it shouldn't be a problem. What a weird, gross middle ground that's totally devoid of any principles. And then he says, evidence is worrisome for kids. Well, that's interesting. I guess it's a good thing we're not talking about legalizing it for frickin' kids then. I can't stand this stuff, man. In the same way that we have alcohol legal, but you have to be over 21 to consume alcohol, this is the same thing with marijuana. Nobody's saying, hey, legalize it and give some to your toddler. That's not happening. People are saying, hey, legalize it, and whatever the age is. I don't know what the debate is, 16, 18, 21, whatever the hell it might be. But, like, that's the debate. That's the discussion. He changes the discussion to make it look like, oh, I'm the reasonable one, because I'm saying kids shouldn't have it. Everybody's saying kids shouldn't have it. That doesn't mean adults shouldn't be able to have it. It really drives me crazy. And he does the whole science thing. Science shows. Yeah, you know what else science shows? Alcohol is absolutely terrible for you. It's way worse than weed is. Should we ban alcohol for everybody? Or should we have it where it's legal in some states but illegal in other states, and if you sell alcohol in certain states, you should be locked up? No! He doesn't believe in personal freedom. Listen, I've spoken about this on the show before. I've called myself, there's a couple labels I've used politically, but populist left is one. Another one I like is libertarian left. Libertarian refers to social issues. On social issues, I'm in favor of taking a hands-off approach and you do whatever you want with your private life. And Michael Bloomberg is very clearly not that. He's not a libertarian leftist. He's certainly not a leftist. This is why I call him an authoritarian elitist. I think that's the best description for him. Because on social issues, he's completely authoritarian. He is banning big gulps, saying you can't freaking sell bagels or give bagels to homeless people. Stuff like this, still trying to say that, we should have marijuana illegal, you can't deal it. He wants to control your life, micromanage your life on social issues. That's the definition of authoritarian. And the elitist part is how he is on economic stuff. He thinks that, he's a billionaire because we live in a meritocracy and he's just that much more brilliant than everybody else and he works that much harder than everybody else. And he thinks, this council of billionaires should kind of control everything and dictate the market. And that is a elitist position. He doesn't believe in small d democracy and people making their own choices and workers being more involved, and he doesn't believe in that. So that's why I call him an authoritarian elitist, man. You see, this is another great example of it with this back and forth, because he's still using marijuana talking points from like 1998.